Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Nirav Pandya. The Golden State Warriors are returning to the NBA Finals, and it shouldn't be overlooked how they've battled back through injuries this past season and have really defied what the data and research shows us. So let's take a quick look back on how injuries have played a major role in defining this season. Number one, obviously, Klay Thompson comes to everyone's mind. He was 941 days away from the game with both an ACL and Achilles tear. NBA players in general who've suffered just even an Achilles tear have decreased performance metrics this first season back, as well as potentially have long-term impacts on their career. I think what's most amazing about Klay's comeback is not only was he dealing with two major injuries, but his ability to come back in a period of 4 months and basically meet or exceed his performance metrics for stretches and periods of time, particularly like he did in Game 5. We just don't see this in players who come back in their first season from one injury, not to mention two injuries. It's usually season two. In addition, Klay didn't get any secondary soft tissue injuries, which should not be overlooked. The one example we use a lot is Kevin Durant, but even Kevin Durant's first season back off his Achilles injury, he missed a significant amount of time with a hamstring injury. The fact that Klay stayed healthy and performed at a very high level for stretches is quite amazing. Number two, Draymond Green. Draymond suffered obviously a serious injury to his back when there was reported for him to have a herniated disc in his back, which was causing nerve inflammation, which was potentially then causing him to have a lower extremity weakness, as was reported by the team. The fact that a very physical player could actually come back in season and not have a re-aggravation is a second way in which the Warriors battled through injuries and basically looked against or performed over what the data and research potentially would show. Number three, Stephen Curry. For any athlete who's had multiple ankle injuries in the past, the foot is a very important area in terms of movement and particularly for his style of play. Having a bone bruise and foot sprain at the end of the season clearly would have been something that may have potentially derailed him, but he was able to ramp back up during the season, particularly the playoffs, and have a very high level performance, culminating in his Western Conference Finals MVP. We also can't forget Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney's early career was defined by injuries. He had bilateral hip surgery, he had core muscle surgery, as well as was dealing with nerve issues as well too. The fact he was one of the few NBA players to play 82 games and then increase his performance level in the playoffs with high rebound games and high minutes and playing at a very physical position where prior issues with him in terms of his core and stability had been compromised is quite amazing. And number five, Otto Porter Jr. This was a player who was labeled injury prone and was bouncing around from team to team, particularly with his feet. Now, obviously, he had recent injuries in terms of his feet, but he stayed relatively healthy during the season and was a key contributor. And